Welcome, welcome, welcome. In this video, I want to go over how to train for hockey, specifically off ice. Now, if you're watching this as a replay instead of live, you might want to skip ahead a couple minutes because I'm just going to check on the health of the stream and make sure everything is up and running. It looks like we're going good here. Should be good, just making sure everything is good to go for us. Looks like we're live and everything is in order. So let's begin here. I like to go on and do these live broadcasts because I can go into detail, spend a bit more time, and kind of just talk through the ideas of hockey training so that you are able to get better faster. A lot of you guys know that at Train 2.0, we've recognized the three forces of psychology, technology, and science that are coming together to create a unique movement at this point in time. And at Train 2.0 here, we are capitalizing on that, and so are our followers and members and fans. So in this presentation, what you will learn is what wizard fit is. And we're going to talk about how strength and conditioning is different from movement training, because a lot of people ask that question. You've heard of movement training. That's not necessarily what we're going to do here, but you guys have heard of it. And we're going to talk about how they're different. We're going to talk about how to train without ruining the magic mechanics, because a lot of people do that. And then we're also going to talk about how to know if your on-ice performance is actually being improved by your off-ice work. We're just going to talk about the ideas around this. Now, who this presentation is not for. Truthfully, there are people who are interested in the field of strength and conditioning. And we could go very into depth on the philosophy and the ideologies of what strength and conditioning is. But people who are just very interested in, like, let's say, what is the specific rep range for increased strength, or the certain type of interval for the maximum amount of aerobic adaptation or anaerobic adaptation. This is not a presentation about that, because despite being a kinesiologist myself, I don't really agree with much of what the field of strength and conditioning has to offer or what they teach, except for maybe the top 0.1% of strength and conditioning coaches. So if you're looking for like a strength and conditioning presentation, this isn't it. This is also, I like to make this warning every time, but this presentation is not for people who don't believe in science. I think people understand there is a science to strength and conditioning more than perhaps the on-ice side. But again, sometimes people think that we are just fleshy bags of magic rather than these, really these moist robots that allow us to take inputs and then get outputs if you use the right inputs. And really, there are protocols that achieve specific results. So there's certain training programs that achieve training results. It's not a mystery which ones those are, and some do it faster than others, and they adhere to scientific principles and, specifically evidence-based kind of methodology. So with that out of the way, who I am not, I'm not a PhD. I don't have a PhD. I'm not Gary Roberts or Matt Nickel, two very well-known strength and conditioning coaches in hockey. I'm not Ido Portal, who's one of the best-known movement coaches. So even though I'm going to talk about things that are in their wheelhouse, I'm not qualified to do so. But who I am is, my name is Jason Yee. I am a professional hockey player. I am a kinesiologist, and I'm the founder of Train 2.0, and we've helped thousands of players around the world get better at hockey. And I want to talk a second about the system. And at Train 2.0, the system we use is to study the magic mechanics of the pros, teach it to players, and then use their feedback to make the instructions simpler, more trusted, and measurable over time so that hardworking players get out what they put in. And this includes off-ice training. Now, other systems, for example, the system of strength and conditioning, have different assumptions. They come from a different place or different understanding than where I come from. Specifically, when they're kind of using their system, they come from the assumption that if they improve physiological variables, meaning things like strength, speed, balance, agility, if they improve those variables, that equals improved on-ice performance. Another assumption is that if you improve off-ice form, you get, again, improved on-ice performance. And if you deliver specific results in the gym, for example, weight gain, increase in speed, movement velocity, all these sorts of things, that also results in on-ice performance. And when I say assumptions, I don't mean that for those who aren't necessarily well-versed in philosophy and the philosophy of science, I don't mean assumptions as in they're not based in fact. What I mean is that they just come from a different place, a different idea, a different starting point. So this is generally the assumptions of strength and conditioning, is that if you get stronger in the gym, you'll get better on the ice. If you have better form in the gym, you'll get better on the ice. And if you get specific results that a strength and conditioning coach wants you to get, you'll get better on the ice. That's their assumptions. Now, I can agree with some of these assumptions, but I'm going to introduce some new ones that the Train 2.0 system has and how we wrap together, how we think about off-ice training. And our main thing, our most important thing, is the magic mechanics. So I have a list of mechanics on the left here. The inner spring, heel pressure, bounce, keeping the core square, having soft ankles, hip twist, tilt, and swivel, having the rhythm of hands, feet, inner spring, and the puck on the blade. Something we call the trebuchet and the tilted Ferris wheel. So these are the magic mechanics of hockey, or at least what we've found so far, and we're continuing to refine, simplify, and make more measurable our list here. And they're very, very, very different from a lot of other sports. And I'm not going to talk about sports specificity versus cross-training. We're not going to talk about that. All we're talking about is how hockey players can get better faster, how they can take the straightest, shortest path from where they are to where they want to be. And I'm talking about on the ice. I think I actually put these out of order, but we'll go with this one. Well, we'll skip ahead. So just in comparison, these are all sorts of exciting looking slides, aren't they? We're going to go back quite a ways. Here's a good one. So when we're talking about strength and conditioning versus movement training, I don't pretend to fully know what Ido Portal knows about movement training. And for those who don't know who Ido Portal is, he's Conor McGregor, who's one of the top UFC fighters, who recently fought Floyd Mayweather. He's his movement coach. And what was kind of missing in the strength and conditioning world for a while was this idea of movement. So the quality of movement and the alignment of mechanical principles. Because strength and conditioning essentially aimed for the longest time at just increasing your body's ability to generate tension, and then also increase the size of your muscles. So there was often talk about functional mass and functional movement, but what strength and conditioning did, let's just take, for example, some basic lifts, your deadlift, your squats, your bench press. What essentially happens when you're aiming to train these is that you're increasing your body's ability to generate tension, because your body's ability to generate tension and align that tension over the joints properly is what moves the muscles, because a strong contraction is just tension. It's your muscles creating tension to create movement. And then usually along with tension comes size. So tension equals strength. The speed that you can develop tension equals power. The amount of tension you create is like a side effect of ending up creating muscular growth, muscular hypertrophy. And that is where strength and conditioning mostly focused for the longest time. And Ido Portal came along, and if I know anything, it's about kind of branding ideas. And Ido Portal did a great job branding the idea of becoming a movement coach. And what he kind of went the other way on was movement quality, specifically mechanics and mechanical principles of body movements. So people kind of ask, like, oh, what is movement training? And, how's that? Should I do movement training? And the answer is yes, but also all training is movement training. What Ido Portal is teaching is the alignment of mechanical principles. And we'll go back to the magic mechanics stuff, and then we'll talk about that a bit more. So I'm not saying I'm one or the other, or Train 2.0 is one or the other, or you should be one or the other, but it's important to understand that kind of the two different ends of the spectrum. And I'd agree that Ido Portal does some strength and conditioning, and strength and conditioning coaches probably do some athletic movement training. But I just want to point out just the ideas here. And let's go to, where's my word thinking slide? So as I'm kind of talking about this, I'm talking about these different ideas. If you're finding yourself disagreeing with what I'm saying, I want to introduce a concept to you called word thinking. And word thinking is when you replace logic and reason with an argument about terms. And by this, I mean, sometimes people argue about what words people are using to describe things instead of understanding the logic or the reason behind those words. Now, the purpose of language is to describe ideas, but sometimes words don't do a good job describing ideas, and people have to essentially make up their own words or terms. And so what I'm doing in a lot of with Train 2.0 is I'm aiming to make ideas easier to understand so that you can take the right action to get results. So I'll take often complicated words and terms from science, from exercise physiology, from kinesiology, and I'll come up with a more simplified version of that word to describe the idea so that people can get the idea and then take the right action to get results. So sometimes what people do is they will watch presentations like these, or they'll watch videos. I've found this quite a bit. And they think they're making a point when all they're doing is they're disagreeing with the words that we're using, which is fine. You can disagree with the words that we're using, but don't confuse that for kind of moving the idea, moving the conversation forward. Because if our ideas are incorrect, debate those ideas, because we want to hear them, we want to debate them. But if our word is different than your word, debating them doesn't really solve anything, unless you can come up with like a more precise version of the word. So as I'm talking about these things that are a little controversial, just keep this in mind. The idea of word thinking, keep that in mind. So let's go back to the magic mechanics and understand that there are a set of mechanical principles in hockey that are very different than a lot of other sports. And I don't mean movement is different, because movement is always variable, movement always changes, but there are mechanical principles that are the same in hockey and very common. And when I say that there are mechanical principles, what I mean is that these magic mechanic principles, things like the inner spring, things like heel pressure, things like swiveling your hips. Once you feel these things, you can't unfeel them. But they're very different than putting on muscle mass. It's very different than creating tension in your muscles, or the velocity of tension that your muscle creates, or sustained muscle generation, muscle tension generation, which we just talked about with like endurance or aerobic conditioning or anaerobic conditioning, because that ability to contract again and again and again and again, those muscles, that kind of defines endurance sports, right? So the magic mechanics are different than these variables, but strength and conditioning aims to usually increase these variables. What we want to do is we want to encourage the body to feel the magic mechanics. We'll talk about that a bit more. And once you feel these magic mechanics, you can't unfeel them. And that's what makes them easier for you to learn on the ice, or it enhances your feeling of them on the ice. We'll talk about that a bit more. We've already discussed these things. So what is the solution? Because I think a lot of programs, strength and conditioning programs, for example, kind of, like I said, they literally deal with just the strength and conditioning side. They improve strength, which is tension, speed of tension generation, which is velocity, coordination of that tension, which is like balance, but they don't deal with the movement, and they're not specifically aimed at improving on-ice performance. So the solution is something we call wizard fit. The best hockey players are not off-ice machines. We call them wizard fit. We also have a solution to enhance our learning of the magic mechanics, and that is through the Feel Your Body learning system. So what is wizard fit? Now, let's describe some hockey wizards, and let me know if they kind of are the same as like a linebacker, if they're built the same as a linebacker. Patrick Kane, notoriously unathletic off the ice. Sidney Crosby, huge lower body, but not the biggest upper body. You know, he's the thick guy, but he performed pretty average at the NHL Combine. Connor McDavid, same thing, dead average on all his tests except for one. But if you look at them, they all have this very standard build, right? They've got big legs, they're a lean upper body, but on the ice, they're wizards. They're hockey wizards. They have the magic mechanics. So what really sets apart a hockey wizard, so a wizard fit athlete, isn't being an off-ice machine. It's efficiency. And when we talk about helping players get wizard fit, we need to have efficiency. That means the reps, sets, and exercises are chosen for efficiency. So we could do like 45 reps of something if we wanted to, but you could get the same, if not better, results in terms of strength, in terms of conditioning, with lower reps and higher weight. Same for sets. You don't need to do 50 sets of something. You can usually get work done with less sets than you think. And that comes down to efficiency. And we'll talk about why that's important after. And then also selecting exercises that are efficient, meaning that they're training the parts of the body that hockey players need to have built up the most, hips and core, and then not spending too much time focusing on these kind of intricate things that don't matter, like calf muscles, for example, or the leg extension or the hamstring pull machine, all of which, yes, are important, but they're not efficient to train. Now, hockey wizards, you'll see that these guys, when we're selecting our workouts for hockey wizard and wizard fit, is that they have this sense of ease about them. they can breathe more efficiently. They are easier at getting around the ice than anyone else. This is part mechanical and part efficiency within their own body, which means they have to have great cardiovascular training. And this doesn't come from running. This doesn't come from sprints. It comes from breathing mechanics. The second thing is energy level. When we're training wizards, or we're aiming to build wizards, we can't be burning them out in the gym because they are wizards on the ice. And I'll show you a graph on that in a second. So we have to respect their energy level, and they have to prioritize their on-ice magic mechanics and patterns of the pros over their off-ice training. The other thing we look at with Wizard Fit is something we call line of force production. I'm getting kind of technical here, but basically we want to kind of mimic as close to possible the movements of on ice without being too specific. So for example, a squat is a pretty good way to mimic the line of force production. It's not 100% because in a squat, the force is going directly down, whereas in hockey, as we know, there's horizontal force vectors. So we want to mimic the line of force production as well as we can without being exactly the same. And the other thing you see with Wizard Fit athletes is that they have this lean muscle. There are protocols to bulk up your muscles, which include having a ton of carbs, doing high volume reps, and then working out to exhaustion, and literally having your muscles go to failure. But if you're going to build lean functional muscle that's efficient, you can't be doing exercises to failure. Every rep has to be crisp and precise. So let's just kind of look at the idea of a Wizard Fit athlete. And I can't interact with this like I did last time. But I have here on the left, I have the young wizard, so to speak. And with the young wizard, I have their base mechanics at their on-ice mechanics is at a level 50, and their off-ice mechanics at a level 50. This is just theoretical. Then I have, this is the off-ice machine with 50 and 50. Again, theoretical idea, but I'll explain to you why this theoretical idea isn't so theoretical. The young wizard ends up putting more time into their on-ice performance. So they spend more time on this. And they see a modest increase. So this is now at 55, the off-ice machine part. But they see a big improvement in their on-ice performance. It goes up to like 80. Meanwhile, the off-ice machine gets to the same level by improving his or her off-ice performance. Okay, but their on-ice performance, improves a little bit, but not as much as their off-ice performance. But when they mature and kind of get into that college pro age, this wizard has a base of magic mechanics, on-ice performance, on-ice skill to work with. Now, when they put that focus into the off-ice training, all of a sudden you can see it takes off. This guy has already tapped out, or this girl has already tapped out their off-ice strength and conditioning. Meanwhile, they're trying their best now, too late in the game, to put on on-ice skill and hockey sense. It's fairly easy. I mean, it's not hard, but it's fairly simple to put on the off-ice variables of strength, speed, power. You see guys who are wizards on the ice, but not physically ready for the NHL, like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Sam Bennett. These guys were physically immature, but they had the magic mechanics in order to perform at the highest level. Now, as they're building strength, you're seeing them turn out to be more dominant, better players. And the reason I can kind of talk about this is because I was this off-ice machine. I was this side of the graph. While I literally watched a hockey wizard do the opposite. He was a year older than me. He's in the NHL now, has been for several years. Do the opposite, where his on-ice performance improved. And then when he turned, I think, 17 or 18, he got into the gym hard, and all of a sudden he exploded in size, speed, strength, but it just added on to his on-ice performance base. Whereas what I did when I was younger, when I was developing, was rather than focus all my effort and energy on strength and on-ice skill development, I focused a lot of energy into my off-ice training, thinking that that would get me to the next level, and it did. I was able to compete and overpower a lot of players. But once I got to that college pro level, I started to tap out because I realized, I can't get much stronger and faster anymore. My speed and strength isn't my advantage anymore. It's my mechanics and hockey sense, which now is a little too late to develop. So that's what happened with me. And I want to give people watching, players thinking about strength and conditioning to improve their game, something kind of like a counter argument to what everyone says, which is get in the gym, work hard, blah, 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 blah. With Wizard Fit, with Train 2.0, with HockeyWOD, what we say is get in the gym, improve, but be efficient about it, because you need to save your energy for the on-ice performance. And you need to be able to even enhance your on-ice performance in the gym. So we'll talk about that a bit more. Hope this makes sense. And if you're watching and you have any questions, feel free to let me know. So like I said, with the magic mechanics, what we want to be teaching is encouraging the feeling of magic mechanics principles. We're not trying to do the exact movements off the ice, but we want to encourage that off the ice so that when you go on the ice, it's easier to get the feeling. Let's talk about the Feel Your Body learning system. Now, you guys can go on my blog right now. I have an article out there called the Feel Your Body learning system, where I explain exactly how to use the Feel Your Body learning system. This is how I coach players. This is how I coach myself, or began coaching myself, after listening to an interview with Mr. Darryl Belfry, where he stated very clearly that the top 6 NHL forwards separate themselves from the bottom 6 NHL forwards by being feel-based, meaning that they ask how things feel, how skills, how mechanics should feel. And what we want to do here with Wizard Fit, with HockeyWOD, with Train 2.0, is when we're doing off-ice training, is that we're not trying to mimic any movements, because they'll never be the same on the ice or off as off the ice. But what we want to do is we want to get players comfortable with feeling their body moving, feeling their body learning, feeling their body learning the magic mechanics. And in that process, we want players to learn to trust their body, trust that their body is going to find the best way to move. And in doing so, in trusting your body more and more, you'll end up developing the Feel Your Body learning skill. So this can accelerate your performance on as well as off the ice, but certainly on the ice. So that's kind of part of the process, a reason we use off-ice training. So I'll talk about this just a tiny bit more. I feel like some of my slides got deleted, but I'll just chat from here. Essentially when what we want to do here with, I think this is a fine slide, I'm sorry. So here's kind of like the system we've put together for our athletes, and then also for players who want to use this for free, and parents. So we have WODBot, which you can use right now. I should have a link in the top right corner that takes you to HockeyWOD, which is a Facebook Messenger bot, WODBot, which is free to use, which will give you Wizard Fit workouts. And we also have a bot on there called RecoverBot. So you can use WODBot to get workouts for warm-ups. You can get quick workouts, body weight workouts, conditioning workouts, all the different workouts that you can possibly want. And here's how what we do is different. Remember we talked about efficiency. I'll go back to the efficiency slide. What we do is with our WODbot workouts is that everything is designed for efficiency. So it's based on your energy level that day. It's based on when your next game is. And this allows us to give you the right workout at the right time. And what we're getting at here is that you can adjust those workouts based on your schedule. A lot of programs don't offer this unless you kind of have an elite trainer on speed dial and you can ask them how to customize your workout. You can't get this kind of information anywhere. So this will give you workouts that you can do anywhere for free, no matter what your energy level is, when your next game is, and whatever you want to do. The next part about it, like I said, is RecoverBot, which again is a free resource that you can use to recover in between games, after games, and it's based on the science of how long until your next game, how long has it been since your last game, how much time do you have, and so it gives you breathing, hot cold therapy, stretching, meditation, exercises you can do to recover in between games or in between practices, and that's all free to use. These all link to a free exercise page, which provides videos of all the exercises. And again, these are all free to use for anyone online. And I'll keep going over kind of the free stuff. I talked about Feel Your Body Learning. That's a free blog post that you guys can use. Just go to the blog, train2.0.com/blog, and it should be one of the latest articles there. And if not, just search it, Feel Your Body Learning System. And then I have for you guys the HockeyWOD Premium. Now, if the exercises and the Wizard Fit workouts that you're doing are helping and you'd like to get some specific results in a few specific areas, and there's more coming, we have 3 premium courses for you. The first one is called Injury Proof Your Hips. It is a very detailed look at how to literally injury proof your hips by recruiting the right muscles, by relaxing the right muscles, and then using the right releases to injury proof your hips and your groins. So if you have a tight groin or hip flexor right now, you can take care of that right away. And if you want to prevent that in the future, you can do that. The next thing, and the reason I talk about specific results is because these are usually specific problems that players have that they want to get solved. And so the next one is called 10 pounds in 10 weeks. A lot of hockey players know that they need to bulk up, but they don't know how. Most of the time they try to do it with strength and conditioning, maybe protein shakes, but there is a system to doing this. We've done it many, many times with players. I've done it myself. I've used this system myself. And so that's why we call this program 10 pounds in 10 weeks. So how you can build permanent weight in 10 weeks. Then we have a ninja breathing course, which is if you need to get in better shape, if you need better conditioning, but you don't have time for conditioning, you don't have, remember, you're probably aiming down that Wizard Fit path. So you don't want to be going and doing exhausting workouts to get in better conditioning. Well, by changing your breathing technique, you can get in better condition without any of that. And I'll kind of, within that course, explain my story and the mechanics behind that. And then lastly, again, this is another premium feature, is the Magic Mechanics Warmup. So I talked about using these off-ice warm-ups as an opportunity, or using these off-ice workouts as an opportunity to learn the magic mechanics, to accelerate your learning of the magic mechanics. So we created a specific magic mechanics warm-up that has the magic mechanics principles that you can use. Now that's a premium feature, but if you'd like to use the free features, I have 2 very good functional warm-ups that'll warm you up for workouts, and those are free to use. They're on the exercise page with WODbot. So there's lots for you to go over there. And like I said, if you're looking for an efficient path to specific results, let's say you need to injury-proof your hips. You can't go and see a physio 3 hours a day for 5 days a week. There's simply not time. You need to still strength train. You need to still go to school. You need to go to work. You need to see the girlfriend, the boyfriend, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but you have other stuff going on in your life. So what you need is a proven, trusted path to get specific results. I essentially have not had a pulled groin. I haven't missed a practice or a game due to a pulled groin or hip flexor in like 8 years. No word of a lie. I missed one because of a shoulder injury, or I missed 2 games because of a shoulder injury, and that was literally it. But hip flexors and groins never bothered me, and usually we always had team trainers, but players would often come to me when they had tight hip flexors and groins because I could show them the exercises to get rid of them. And you don't have time to go and see a physio a whole bunch, but in your workouts you can integrate these lessons to get a specific result, which is injury-proof hips, very, very quickly in a proven, efficient way. So because you're a wizard working on being wizard fit rather than being an off-ice machine, you need an efficient path to get specific results. So if you're looking to gain 10 pounds in 10 weeks, improve your conditioning without exhausting yourself or injury-proofing your hips, those are there for you, and there will be more to come. But you have tons of free resources that you can use right now, and I hope you do, and let us know how they work for you. And so what I hope you got from this is you benefit from my thousands of hours of, you know what, this didn't save. Oh, it did. So what I'm hoping you got from this, sorry for the second go around here, is kind of my different mistakes. Hey, the Hockey Kingdom, if you have any other questions and you're watching, just let me know. I focused on training at the wrong time. I suggest that everyone does off-ice training. That's why we created HockeyWOD and WODbot. But I put 100% focus into that when I should have been putting 60% focus into it, or maybe 40% focus into it. And so that kind of leads into mistake 2. I prioritized my training over my skill and hockey sense developed when I was younger. It should be the opposite. You should focus on your on-ice skill and development and hockey sense early, and then when you're older, you should still do your strength and conditioning. When you're older, the gains from strength and conditioning are going to turbo boost your on-ice magic mechanics and patterns of the pros. I also hope you're learning from my micro mistakes. I tried a lot of different protocols. I went to school for this, and so I learned what protocols don't work and don't give results. And so I'm hoping that you get some benefit from learning about what protocols give results. And then also, I'm hoping that you've learned a little bit about how you can develop the magic mechanics and use feel your body learning to get more out of your off-ice strength and conditioning program or your off-ice training program. And that's an erroneous slide. You've all seen that one before. So this is the end of the HockeyWOD bot or HockeyWOD discussion. So you can use WODbot right now. So you just go to train2.0.com/HockeyWOD, and that explains to you how to get started. And then if you're looking to put on weight, improve your conditioning without conditioning, learn the magic mechanics faster through your off-ice program, injury-proofing your hips, check out the HockeyWOD Premium. It is a low sale price right now because we haven't added all the features, so you could get in early if you want to now. And of course, this is free. This is included for all Train 2.0 members. So if what you're interested in is HockeyWOD, how to train for hockey, this is the end of that part of the presentation. I want to thank you guys for watching. Davis is asking, how can I get faster when I'm skating and driving wide and put the puck in the net at speeds? It'd be tough to say without seeing your video. But certainly review the McDavid, how to skate like McDavid video, the full presentation that I did. That'll give you some clues there. But like I said, this is the end of the HockeyWOD portion. I'm going to change gears here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Train 2.0, our system, our mission, and I'll explain sort of why here. So the Train 2.0 system, and if you're done with kind of watching the part or learning about the hockey, how to train for hockey off ice, thanks again for watching. Thanks for coming, and I'd love to see you with the HockeyWOD portion of the system. Now, transitioning to the Train 2.0 system. The system is to help players make the NHL. It's really that simple. Now, if this sounds like a goal to you, then the system will definitely fail, because there's undoubtedly going to be some players that use this system and don't make the NHL. I'm one of them. So if it's a goal, it will fail. But this isn't a goal. This is a system. And every time we apply the system, we win. And what I mean by applying the system is that we're changing the way that players are training for and making the NHL. And we're doing that by, where is my slide? Well, we're doing that by recognizing that there's three powerful forces that have changed the game. Literally. And those powerful forces are the kind of evolution of science, and I mean specifically like motor learning, and our understanding of the neuromechanics of human movement, and kind of the ideas there. Also, the evolution of technology, specifically smartphones and tablets and video review and app development. These are all getting to a point where we can really leverage them. And then also the psychology of persuasion and accelerated learning. These are all coming together. And so how the system works is we've done our best to study the mechanics of success of NHL players and just kind of in general. And what we found is that when we can make instructions simple, meaning that they're easy to understand and clear. And when we can make instructions trustworthy, meaning that we've made sure they work, and then we can provide you with measurable progress, the system works great. So I'll go back to kind of this slide here, is that the system works and wins every time we're making the instructions more clear, more measurable, and more trustworthy. Because I can't conceive, there's simply no way to conceive of a time in the future, for example, when players will say, let's say 10 years from now, a player comes by and says, geez, Jason, I really wish you had made the Train 2.0 system less trustworthy. I wish you would have given us some advice that is, a little more unknown. No, that'll never change. Same thing for complexity, same thing for measurable progress. So every time we're giving instructions to players and we're getting feedback on whether it's unclear, whether it's not working, so not trustworthy, or they weren't able to measure their progress. It was unclear whether they were making progress. When we get that feedback, we can make the system better, and that is a win. So it is a system to help players make the NHL. Not everyone maybe believes in this idea of a system. Maybe you kind of want to lone wolf it and run and gun yourself. But I think a lot of people want to really appreciate the founding fathers and mothers of hockey. Like you think of Father David Bauer, Anatoly Tarasov, Mike Babcock. These are kind of like the fathers of hockey. And this system is really ushering in a new era, a new movement, a new way of training, thanks to these three forces. So the reason I'm actually kind of doing this part of the presentation is because I had some young players who are essentially, um, wanting to convince their parents to let them join Train 2.0. Young, very dedicated, very smart players who they want to join, but they understand that they have to go through mom and dad, who are the gatekeepers. So what I'm wanting to do with kind of this part is explain the system. So what a good thing for you to do is, if you're watching this and your parents have been kind of on the fence and you're wanting to join, yeah, you need mom and dad's permission for sure. So sit down with them with this part of the presentation, and even go back a few minutes, sit down with them and say, here, like, let Jason explain to you what the system is for, what we're trying to do here. And maybe that might convince them, or at least they might be able to help guide you. And I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean by that in a bit. So one of the things I've found with this Train 2.0 system is that high performers and successful people tend to gravitate towards Train 2.0. And this is helpful because we want to produce more successful people. And yeah, we want to produce more successful hockey players. But I think that kind of thinking in this system's mindset, and some of the other thinking I have that I'll share with you in a bit, is really aimed at producing successful people. And the whole mechanics of success thing here is, this isn't just hockey, right? If we can make instructions more simple, more trustworthy, and more measurable, like I said, players will like that. Players will appreciate that, and it will help players get closer to making the NHL. If not, someone pretty soon, one day, is going to make the NHL following this system or a version of this system, because you might have noticed that coaches all over are already stepping up their game. They've seen the analyses, the breakdowns that are coming out of Train 2.0, and they are getting better. They are adapting too. Their instructions are getting more detailed. They don't want to be known as a drone coach, so they're pushing their limits. So in some way or another, this is going to help feed better people and better players into the NHL. Now, like I said, this method of thinking, of making instructions more simple, more trustworthy, and measurable, is just a good life skill, right? If you can go into a class at school and you get better at providing feedback